I don't feel bad about that at all. I think it's a wonderful roof. But consistency is not something that I'm really good at. The other thing that this woman who represented the Historical Society in the design of the building, whose name was Jean Weber, spent a lot of time with us, and she had a couple of interest points that I think were good. She agreed with me about building as big a possible gift shop. There was part of the Historical Society and others were opposed to a gift shop bigger than 6 by 8 feet. And I do believe that the organization is capable of deriving some money by the sale of stuff in its gift shop. And I think that's a good educational tool, and a lot of reasons why I think the gift shop is as big as it should be. Maybe it should be bigger, I don't know. Then the other thing that was real important to Jean Weber was that it should be set up so that a person could man the facility singly at quiet times. Now, there's some difference of opinion about whether that makes any sense. Certainly 2 people is better, because you can have one person wandering around and answering questions and guiding in a sense, and the other person near the front office. But so we built these 2 puny little bathrooms behind the front desk, behind the main office. So there's the sales counter, and then there's a little office behind it, and then there's 2 little rooms, one of which has been converted to storage. They took the toilet out, and then the other one is still a bathroom. But they're very inadequate and vestigial. And then a second phase of the project, done by somebody else who I don't know, added to the south edge of the building and built 2 nice new big bathrooms in there that are code compliant today, and big. The other ones were code compliant in 1990. And there is a slight security problem in having bathrooms inside the middle of a museum. That's just my stick in the mud kind of approach. But I would put keys on them and have to have people go to the front desk to get the key. But that can be handled. That's building management, nothing to do with architecture. But I think that's a good point, that any facility of that sort needs to be run with the fewest number of people for down times or for slow times, whatever. And of course the state had some serious resistance to putting on the lower level this, what you might call a lab or a conservation facility, a storage, curatorial space, whatever. And my opinion was that if you want to stay within the $1 million budget, there's only one way to do that, and that is to use the basement. And so we did that. Now, we were quite surprised during construction that there was water right there. We got down about 6.5 feet ground level. We didn't do any testing in advance. We might have done that and saved ourselves a little bother. But we found that there was water down there. Now I get to Mr. Tomlinson. The building was built by the best, finest contractor ever to have lived in Wisconsin. His name was Tomlinson, maybe John Tomlinson or something. He was in Ashland. He was about 75 years old, and this was, I think, maybe the last project that he built. I don't know. Or could still be there at 105 building, but I don't think so. And so John Tomlinson, I had 4 meetings with him. They were perfect meetings. I nothing but respect for the man, because he understood that what I want, my biggest thing was to get it built within the budget. Now, you can argue that there's always more money out there, and if it had gone over to $200,000, maybe we'd have found another 200 to put in it, whatever. But in fact, most of my work up to that point, I used to teach estimating, and I was very proud of the fact that I know how much it's going to cost. I can't do that anymore. The world's gone nuts. But I said, we can build it for that price, and here's what we can build. And that involved having this lower level work area, which I think works quite well. And then we discovered the water coming in there, and we needed to spend some money putting a drain tile system and a sump pump in there.
Which we saw yesterday, if I can interject, because Tom and Linda did go in yesterday and we re-looked at everything so that memories can be refreshed, and mine too.
Indeed, yes.
Indeed.
Thank you. So Mr. Tomlinson and I sat down, and I don't remember what the cost of the drain tile system was in the sump pump. But I said, where else can we cut money out of the budget to balance that unexpected cost? And he and I sat down, oh, we'll take this out or take that out, or maybe we put crummier tile in the bathrooms, I don't know. I don't know, I don't remember what adjustments we made. But we adjusted the specifications to get it built within the budget and still pay for the drain tile. And Mr. Tomlinson was critical to that. I'm forever in respect of him, in debt to him. One other little thing, the state of Wisconsin had then, which Minnesota had until about that point, something called the state architect, who was a person who the state retained with architectural credentials to kind of oversee general state construction. And I don't recall his name, but the state architect was a nice gentleman in Minneapolis, in Madison, rather retired, and or nearly retired. And I got a letter from him just before we were bidding the project, and he said, you know, you will never get it built within that budget. And I called him on the phone and I said, why do you say that? Because I'd given them a very detailed budget. And lo and behold, we get a bid that was within the budget, Mr. Tomlinson. And so, step one, things are going real good. So we get the building built. I got another letter from the state architect, and he said, congratulations. Yours is the only state project built in 1990 within its budget. So now you can say, Blanck, you made a few compromises along the way, which I don't even remember how we managed to keep it within the budget. But Mr. Tomlinson at one of those 4 meetings would say, well, now, you know, this bid for this is too much, it's too high, we can't get that in, what can we do? I said, well, here's how you do it, you know. And so between the two of us, we did that. And you can argue that it could be better building maybe if we went over the budget. Yeah, it's always better when you spend more money. But anyway, that was my mindset. And Max Lein was fully on with that same thrifty strategy of doing what you say. You know, and if there's a little compromise, and of course things have been done to the building over the years. Different colors inside and some other little build outs and of course those 2 new bathrooms and you know, but I think that's fine. I think things that don't change are maybe not fine. And so I think it's nice that things are not exactly the way we left them, although there's some things I'm proud of. The little theater space there. Those seats that are there, I specified.
The chairs?
The chairs.
Oh, okay.
And they were made in Canada, and they were the least costly, stackable, upholstered seating.
They just held up.
That you
Oh
will
my
find.
God, I can't believe they go back to 1990.
They do, and they are the same seat and the same color that I had in my conference room. So, you know how much time I spent in having to specify that? Like 0. Because I had already qualified those as being a very practical choice, because I put them in my own office, you know. And so...
Tom, can I
Yes.
ask what they wanted this addition to do?
You
What
mean
was
what
the-
I
what-
designed?
Yeah, what was the purpose of the building?
Well, I suppose, I have to say I'm kind of theorizing. I'm not sure that I ever heard from the state precisely what the objective was, but to make it a proper museum, you know, so that it had security, it had a sales area, it had a theater space, it had a changing display area, the
Yeah,
part of
okay.
the room with the big trusses. So we did write a program which had those components in it, you know, public bathrooms, even though there is a nice public bathroom across the street from it.
Oh, not that nice.
Well, I've never been in that bathroom, yes.
Oh, well,
So a couple questions, Tom.
Yes.
This is so
Yes.
fascinating. I find it just really interesting. Did you have any problem that you were a Minnesota-based architect doing a Wisconsin project?
Absolutely. The state of Wisconsin is a very centralized government. The contract for the architecture design work was signed by Tommy Thompson himself.
Wow.
And, you know, here's a little project in a little corner of the state, and the governor's office had to sign the contract. Now, I don't know if it's still that way.
I think it is.
Interested to see that signature.
Probably worse.
And I don't think that's all.
Certified as in Wisconsin? As an
Yes,
architect?
I was licensed in Wisconsin,
Licensed,
Minnesota, and
yeah.
Iowa.
So that's great. So the other
And-
question is,
well,
oh,
I'm
please.
quite
Yeah,
done with
okay, okay.
Because there's an interesting twist to it. Linda and I have had a summer place in Stockholm, Wisconsin for many years on Lake Pepin. And I always had a post office box there, 2. And so the communications with the state and the payments from the state came to post office box 2, Stockholm, Wisconsin. We did have home there too. And so I could qualify, Max could qualify, of course, because he had property here too. So, but we were Wisconsin, and Max always had Wisconsin license plates on his vehicles. I don't know if you're
Yes.
aware of that.
Yes.
Maybe
Yes.
not everybody is, because I think he did that because it was less costly.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, I'm sorry, yes.
So the second question is there any community input on what was to go on there? And if so, how did that happen?
I don't, well, okay. I relied greatly on Max Lein for a lot of things in the project, because we had a really nice working relationship. And so I have to say that subject never occurred to me. Not that I'm a megalomaniac or an egocentric. Do I sound like one? Could be.
It was the time. It was the time.
Well, yeah, so I would say whatever community involvement there was, it came through Gene Weber and Max Lein and the Historical Society. So I'm really not familiar with community input.
Maybe Jeannie Teisberg,
And
because
Jeannie Tyson.
And Jeannie
Jeannie,
Teisberg,
Jeannie
yes.
worked very closely with Gene Weber,
Yes,
and so
that's
she
another name, I'm
would,
sorry, I'd forgotten.
yeah,
Yes.
she would be a link
Yeah.
to that.
Yeah. So at least there was some communication with the State Historical Society as to what they saw was an appropriate strategy for this if it was going to be a state museum.
Sure.
So-
I remember Jeannie saying that Gene Weber was very supportive of the old